Success begins in the mind before it begins in the world, because every achievement you will ever hold in your hands first starts as a picture in your imagination, as a quiet whisper of possibility inside your thoughts. If you cannot see it within yourself, you will never hold it in reality. The mind is the soil where dreams are planted, and if you plant seeds of doubt, seeds of fear, seeds of small thinking, then what will grow will be nothing more than weeds of limitation. But if you plant seeds of faith, seeds of courage, seeds of unshakable belief, you will harvest greatness beyond measure. Everything that exists in this world, every building that touches the sky, every invention that changed the course of history, every movement that broke the chains of oppression, was once invisible, living only in the thoughts of someone who refused to let go of their vision. The battles you fight on the outside are always won or lost in the arena of your mind, for your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. When your mind is filled with clarity, with confidence, with conviction, then even the tallest mountains will look like stepping stones, and even the darkest valleys will shine with the light of possibility. That is why you must guard your thoughts as a king guards his crown. Because the world you live in tomorrow is being built in your mind today, and if you do not control what grows in that sacred space, someone else will plant their fears and their doubts until you begin to believe that you are not enough, that your dream is too big, that your destiny is too... But if you choose to hold a picture of victory so strong, so vivid, so unshakable that no storm can wash it away, then nothing in this world can stop what has already been born inside your mind. Your purpose is bigger than your paycheck, because the true measure of a life well lived is not found in the numbers on a bank statement, but in the depth of meaning behind every action you take, every dream you chase, and every soul you touch. A paycheck can pay for a roof over your head, but purpose builds a foundation under your spirit that no storm can tear down. A paycheck can buy comfort, but purpose gives you courage when comfort runs out. When you wake up in the morning driven by nothing more than money, you will soon find that the road feels long, the burden feels heavy, and the victories feel hollow, because wealth without meaning is emptiness wearing a mask of success. But when you wake up fueled by purpose, by a calling that burns so deep inside you that you cannot ignore it, then every challenge becomes a mission, every obstacle becomes a lesson, and every step becomes a testimony that you were not born to simply exist. You were born to make an impact that echoes beyond your lifetime. Money is a tool, but purpose is the master architect that decides how that tool is used, because what good is gaining the whole world if you lose yourself in the process? When you walk in purpose, even the smallest tasks become significant, because they are pieces of a greater vision that will outlast you. The world does not remember the size of your paycheck. It remembers the size of your contribution, the depth of your character, and the strength of your conviction. Your purpose is the compass that guides you when wealth offers no direction, the light that shines when fortune fades, and the fire that keeps burning long after the applause has stopped and the material gains have turned to dust. For a life built on purpose can never be shaken by the shifting winds of circumstance, because it is anchored to something eternal, something powerful, something bigger than the weight of gold and the noise of the crowd. Greatness is not given, it is earned in the dark, because the moments that shape a champion are not the moments of applause, but the lonely hours when no one is watching, when no cameras are rolling, when there is no crowd to cheer you on. It is in those hidden places, away from the noise and the recognition, that character is forged and strength is built. The world will see the glory, but it will never see the grind. The late nights when sleep felt like a luxury, the early mornings when your body begged for rest, the countless sacrifices no one will ever thank you for. Greatness is not a gift handed to the lucky. It is the prize reserved for those who refuse to quit when the lights are off and the room is empty. It is earned in the silence of struggle, in the discipline that keeps you working when everyone else has stopped, in the choices you make when compromise would be easier, in the pain you endure when quitting would feel like relief. There are no shortcuts to the summit, because every step of the climb demands persistence, demands resilience, demands a will so strong that even when you are tired, even when you are broken, even when the world says it is impossible, you whisper to yourself that you will keep going. The applause of the crowd can only echo for a moment, but the habits built in the dark will speak for you forever. Because every hidden hour of work becomes a brick in the foundation of your greatness. Every sacrifice becomes a stone on the path to your destiny. And every tear becomes a seed that will one day bloom into the victory you dreamed of when no one believed. When no one cared, when no one was there to see you labor in the shadows, earning what the world will one day call greatness, but what you know was carved out of sweat, struggle, and silent perseverance. Failure is the tuition you pay for greatness, because every mistake you make, every setback you endure, every dream that crumbles in your hands is a lesson carved into the fabric of your character, a price you must pay to gain the wisdom that cannot be learned from books or borrowed from others. Failure is not a punishment, it is a teacher that speaks in the language of pain, in the language of disappointment, in the language of humility, and those who listen to its voice gain an education that success alone could never provide. When you fall flat on your face, when your plans collapse, when your hopes seem shattered beyond repair, understand that you are standing in the classroom of destiny, and the tuition you pay in tears and frustration and sleepless nights is the currency that buys you experience and strength. The world celebrates victory, but the truth is that behind every triumph is a trail of trials. Behind every success is a series of failures that tested courage and measured conviction. Failure strips away illusions, revealing the truth about who you are and how badly you want the dream you claim to chase. For it will ask you, will you rise again? Or will you let this defeat define you? Those who choose to rise, who choose to learn, who choose to embrace failure not as a tombstone, but as a stepping stone, become unstoppable, because they understand that each failure has given them a tool, a skill, a piece of insight they would never have possessed had they not walked through the fire of disappointment. Greatness demands payment, and payment often comes in the form of broken plans and shattered comfort zones, for only through failure you develop the perseverance to keep moving when the road is long, the courage to keep trying when the world says no, and the wisdom to know that every loss is not the end of the story, but a chapter that prepares you for the victory waiting beyond the lessons you were willing to learn at the cost of your pride, your ease, and your false sense of security. Because failure is the tuition that buys a future no amount of instant success could ever secure. Your dreams demand discipline more than desire, because desire alone is a spark. But discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive when the wind of life begins to blow. Desire is easy. Everybody wants something great. Everybody talks about success. Everybody imagines themselves at the top, but very few are willing to do the hard, unglamorous work that transforms a dream from an idea into reality. Desire feels good. It excites you. It makes your heart race. It makes you talk big and post quotes. But when the excitement fades and the struggle begins, desire will leave you empty unless discipline steps in to carry you through the nights of doubt, the mornings when you do not want to get out of bed, the days when nothing seems to work. Discipline is the silent force that makes you wake up when the alarm rings, that makes you keep going when the results are invisible, that makes you stick to the plan when shortcuts look tempting and comfort calls you. Dreams without discipline are like seeds thrown on concrete. They will never take root because they are not nurtured by consistent action. You cannot wish your way into greatness. You have to work your way there, and that work requires a structured, relentless commitment that does not depend on how you feel in the moment. Discipline says, I will show up no matter what, when desire says, I will show up when I feel like it. It is the difference between those who quit after a few failures and those who rise stronger after every failure. It is what keeps the writer writing when inspiration runs dry, what keeps the athlete training when the applause has stopped, what keeps the dreamer building brick by brick when no one believes and no one claps. Discipline is not loud. It does not shout your name from the rooftops, but it speaks through your habits, through your consistency, through the way you refuse to give up when given up seems. Without discipline, desire is just a beautiful thought, a sweet fantasy that will wither in the face of adversity. But with discipline, even the smallest desire can grow into a towering reality that defies the limits of imagination. because you had the strength to keep going long after the feeling of wanting was gone. The crowd will doubt you before they celebrate you because most people cannot see what you see. They cannot hear the music that plays in your soul. They cannot feel the vision burning in your heart. So they will measure your dream by the limits of their own imagination and call it impossible. When you take the first step towards something greater, do not expect the world to rise and cheer for you. For the world is slow to believe in what it cannot yet see. In the beginning, they will question your motives. They will laugh at your plans. They will whisper behind closed doors, saying you have lost your mind, because what you are reaching for does not fit into the small box of their understanding. They will ask why you work so hard when there is no reward yet. Why you sacrifice so much when the results are invisible? Why you keep going when the path looks uncertain? They will not understand that the fire driving you forward burns hotter than their doubts could ever cool. The crowd is quick to judge and slow to believe because faith is rare and vision is even rarer, so they will doubt you until the evidence is undeniable, until the seeds you planted in silence grow into trees they can no longer ignore. But in those early days, you must learn to walk alone, to stand firm when the voices around you say you are wasting your time because the crowd is a follower, not a leader, and they only celebrate what has already succeeded. They cannot see the nights you worked when they slept, the tears you shed when no one cared, the weight you carried when no one offered a helping hand, and so they will not clap for your struggle, only for your success. Their doubt is not a reflection of your worth, but of their own limits. For small minds cannot comprehend big visions, and those who live inside the walls of fear will always try to lock the door on those who dream of freedom. But if you endure their skepticism, if you refuse to bow to their disbelief, if you keep building in silence while they keep talking in circles, the same mouths that called you foolish will one day call you brilliant. The same voices that mocked you will echo with praise. Not because they suddenly found faith, but because your results made it impossible for them to deny what they once refused to see. Comfort is the enemy of progress because every step toward growth requires leaving behind the familiar ground that feels safe, warm, and easy. Comfort whispers to you, telling you to stay where you are, to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty, to choose the path of least resistance. But that voice is a trap that chains you to mediocrity while your dreams slowly die in silence. Progress demands motion, requires friction, yet comfort offers stillness disguised as peace, convincing you that what you have is enough when deep inside your soul you know you were created for more. Greatness does not live in the cozy corners of life where nothing challenges you. It lives on the rugged roads that stretch your limits and break your routine. Comfort gives you excuses, reasons why now is not the time, why you are not ready, why you should wait for the perfect moment that never comes. And while you wait, life passes, opportunities vanish, and the fire within you flickers up. The truth is that every dream worth having will drag you out of your comfort zone, pull you into the wilderness of uncertainty, and force you to walk through valleys of doubt and mountains of difficulty, because growth is born in the soil of discomfort. Muscles only grow under tension, character only strengthens under pressure, and success only comes to those who dare to endure what others avoid. Comfort is seductive. It tells you to stay in the job that pays enough even though it kills your passion, to stay in the routine that feels easy even though it starves your soul, to settle for less because the climb to more feels hard. But nothing great was ever built by people who chose easy over extraordinary, because every invention, every revolution, every legacy was born when said, I will not stay where it is safe. I will go where it is uncertain. And when you choose to break free from the grip of comfort, you will discover that the fear you once felt was only a shadow, that the pain you endure becomes strength, and that the life you dreamed of lives on the other side of the very discomfort you tried so long to avoid. Because comfort may keep you warm for a season, but it will keep you small forever, and progress will only open its door to those who are willing to step into the unknown and pay the price that ease never asks for, but greatness always demands. Stand on principles, not on popularity, because popularity is a shifting shadow, a wind that changes direction with every new trend, every new opinion, every passing voice that shouts the loudest in the moment, while principles are the bedrock that holds firm when the storms of life begin to rage. If you build your life on the fragile foundation of public approval, you will spend your days chasing the applause of the crowd, bending your values to fit their moods, and breaking your integrity just to remain in their favor. But when the noise fades and the crowd moves on to its next fascination, you will be left empty, stripped to the very core that made you who you are. Principles are not convenient, they do not bend to comfort, and they do not shift with the tide of opinion. They demand sacrifice. They demand courage. They demand that you stand even when standing makes you a target of criticism, because true strength is not found in doing what pleases people, but in doing what is right when it costs you something. Popularity will make you a prisoner of perception, forcing you to live a life of performance, wearing masks to satisfy expectations, silencing your truth to avoid their disapproval until you no longer recognize the face in the mirror because it has been carved by compromise. But principles are a compass. They keep you steady when the path is unclear. They guide your steps when temptation calls. And they remind you who you are when the world tries to make you something else. History has never remembered those who lived for applause. It remembers those who stood for something unshakable, who refused to trade their convictions for convenience, who chose the narrow road of integrity over the broad road of acceptance. And make no mistake, standing on principles will cost you. Relationships may break, opportunities may disappear, doors may close, but what you gain in return is priceless. A peace that popularity can never give, a strength that flattery can never build, a legacy that likes and trends can never match. Because while popularity dies with the echo of applause, principles endure beyond the grave, whispering to the world that you were unmovable, unbroken, and unbought in a time when everyone else was for sale. Success is a marathon, not a sprint, because the journey to greatness is not a race won by bursts of speed, but by the strength to keep moving forward, mile after mile, day after day, through the seasons of exhaustion, through the weight of setbacks, through the silence of unseen effort. A sprint is fueled by adrenaline, by short-lived energy, by the excitement of the starting gun. But a marathon demands endurance, patience, and unwavering commitment. When the cheering fades, when the road stretches endlessly, and when the finish line feels like a distant dream. Too many people begin their journey with fire in their hearts and speed in their steps, only to burn out because they believed success was instant, because they mistook progress for perfection, because they expected results overnight in a world that rewards persistence over impulse. A marathon requires strategy. You must pace yourself, conserve your energy, and focus on the long game. For the greatest victories are not achieved in moments, but in consistent, deliberate steps taken over time. Success is built in the quiet rhythm of repeated effort, in the unglamorous grind that tests your will long after motivation has left, in the decision to keep going when others have dropped out of the race because the road became too hard. There will be stretches where the path feels endless, where pain grips your body and doubt grips your mind, where the temptation to quit whispers louder than the dream that called you to start. But those who understand the nature of the marathon do not measure their progress by how fast they run. They measure it by the strength to keep moving when their legs ache, when their breath is short, when every part of them says stop. And when you approach success as a marathon, you learn to embrace the process, to honor the discipline of preparation, to value the power of persistence. Because the prize does not belong to those who rush and collapse, but to those who endure, to those who master the art of patience. To those who understand that greatness is not a single burst of effort, but 1,000 steps taken with faith, focus, and an unbreakable spirit, for the finish line is not crossed by speed alone, but by those who refuse to stop running no matter how long the road becomes. No matter how heavy the burden feels, and no matter how far away the dream appears with every passing mile. Your circle determines your ceiling because the people you allow into your life will either lift you higher than you ever imagined or anchor you to a level far beneath your potential. Every conversation you have, every environment you stay in, every influence you entertain shapes the way you think, the way you dream, and the way you act. If you surround yourself with small minds, you will eventually start thinking small because mediocrity is contagious. And those who are afraid to climb will always convince you that the mountain is too high. But when you choose to walk with those who dream bigger, who think beyond limits, who refuse to settle for average, you will find yourself reaching for heights you never believed were possible, because greatness rubs off on those who are close enough to feel its energy. The truth is, your habits, your mindset, your work ethic will always reflect the company you keep, because you cannot soar with eagles if you are spending your time scratching the ground with chickens. People often underestimate how powerful association is, but history has proven that every giant was surrounded by voices that fed their faith, by hands that lifted them when they stumbled, by minds that challenged them to grow when comfort whispered them to stop. If your circle spends more time complaining than creating, more time gossiping than growing, more time doubting than doing, then they are not a circle. They are a cage, and that cage will keep you locked at a level far below where you belong. But if you intentionally build a circle of visionaries, people who challenge your excuses, people who push you beyond your fears, people who refuse to let you settle for less than you are capable of, then you will find that your ceiling begins to rise, your thinking begins to expand, and your possibilities begin to multiply. The energy around you becomes the air you breathe, and if that air is polluted with negativity, insecurity, and laziness, it will choke the life out of your dreams. But if that air is charged with ambition, resilience, and faith, it will ignite a fire inside you that nothing can extinguish. Because the truth remains that you do not become who you want to be, you become who you walk with. And the company you keep will either sharpen your vision or blind your eyes, will either fuel your fire or drain your soul. Will either raise your ceiling so high that you touch the sky or lock you in a room with no doors, where the only thing that grows is regret for the life you could have lived if only you had chosen a circle that lifted you instead of a circle that kept you crawling. Service is the highest measure of success, because true greatness is not defined by how much you have, but by how much you give. Not by the wealth you accumulate, but by the lives you elevate. Not by the crowns on your head, but by the burdens you help to lift from the shoulders of others. The world may tell you that success is standing at the top of the mountain, but what it does not tell you is that the view means nothing if you stand there alone. If you reach the summit without pulling someone else closer to their dream, without leaving the path brighter than you found it. Service transforms achievement into legacy, because titles fade, trophies gather dust, money loses value, but the impact you make on a human life echoes long after your name is forgotten. To serve is to lead from the heart, to see beyond your own needs and ambitions, and to recognize that the true reward of success is not applause, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing that someone can breathe easier because you chose to care. Because you chose to act, because you chose to use your strength for something greater than yourself. Service demands humility, because it asks, speak your dream even when your voice trembles, because silence will never build the world you imagine, and fear will never give birth to destiny. There will be moments when doubt clutches your throat, when the weight of other people's opinions presses like chains on your chest, when the sound of your own heartbeat feels louder than your words. But those are the moments when speaking matters most. The trembling in your voice is not weakness. It is the sound of courage breaking through the walls of fear. Every great movement, every life-changing idea, every revolution began with a voice that dared to speak even when the world was not ready to listen. People may laugh at your words, they may call your vision impossible, they may try to shrink your dream to fit the limits of their imagination, but speak it anyway, because spoken words are seeds planted in the soil of reality, and what you confess with conviction will eventually take root and grow. Do not wait for perfect confidence, for perfection is an illusion and certainty is a myth. Speak your dream while your hands shake, while your knees knock, while your mind screams that you are not enough, because the act of declaring your vision gives it power, gives it shape. gives it life. Words carry energy. They create worlds, they shift atmospheres, they open doors that fear tried to keep closed, and when you dare to speak what is inside you, you break the silence that holds so many hostage to smallness. Your dream is not meant to stay locked inside your thoughts like a prisoner. It is meant to breathe, to move, to inspire, to call forth the resources, the people, the opportunities that will help it rise. And none of that happens until you release it into the air with your voice trembling though it may be. Speak it in rooms where no one believes. Speak it when the evidence is invisible. Speak it when the odds are stacked against you, because every word you speak is a declaration of war against fear, against doubt, against impossibility. And though your voice may shake, every syllable is a step closer to the life you were born to live. Adversity is the birthplace of strength, because nothing powerful is ever formed in ease, nothing unbreakable is ever shaped in comfort, and nothing resilient is ever born without the weight of pressure. It is in the fire of hardship that iron becomes steel. It is in the storm that roots grow deep. It is in the crushing that the diamond emerges, and the same is true for the human soul. We dream of a life without struggle, but a life without struggle is a life without growth, without depth, without power, because every obstacle you face is a forge, every trial a hammer, every setback a chisel carving away weakness to reveal the greatness within you. Adversity tests your limits not to break you, but to show you that your limits were illusions, that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. It strips away the illusions of control, tears down the walls of comfort, and forces you to dig into reserves of courage and faith that you would never have discovered had everything been easy. Strength is not built when the road is smooth. It is built when the path is steep and the wind is against you, when your muscles ache and your mind whispers that you cannot go on. Yet you take another step and then another until you realize that what once felt impossible has now become a part of who you are. The strongest trees grow in the harshest winds, and the most unshakable souls at time is your most precious treasure. Guard it, because once a moment is gone, it can never be reclaimed. It can never be purchased back. It can never be relived, no matter how much wealth you acquire or how much power you hold. Time is the great equalizer, the one resource given to everyone in the same measure 24 hours in a day, and yet it is spent so differently, wasted so carelessly, as if the supply were infinite, as if tomorrow were guaranteed. The truth is that time is life, and how you use it determines the story you write, the legacy you leave, the destiny you fulfill. For every second wasted, a piece of your future burned away in the fire of distraction. Guard your time like a king guards his crown, because there will always be thieves. Thieves in the form of procrastination, in the form of pointless conversations, in the form of scrolling through empty illusions, in the form of people who drain your energy and demand your presence without purpose. Every yes you give to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. And the tragedy is that most people do not realize the cost of wasted time until the clock is almost out of hours, until their dreams have grown cold, until the life they imagined is nothing but a memory of what could have been. Time is a currency more valuable than gold, because gold can be stored, traded, multiplied, but time only moves forward. And every tick of the clock is a reminder that opportunity has an expiration date, that the vision in your heart will die if you do not act before the sand in your hourglass runs out. Guard it by setting boundaries that protect your purpose, by cutting off the habits that consume your hours without giving anything in return, by surrounding yourself with people who value time as much as you do. Because those who treat time lightly will never help you carry the weight of your calling. Every great achievement is built on disciplined time, on hours invested with intention, on moments turned into momentum. Because time is not just passing, it is shaping you. It is building or breaking the future you desire. And if you do not master it, it will master you, dragging you into a cycle of wasted days that add up to wasted years. Until you wake up one day and realize that the life you wanted was waiting on the other side of choices you never made, because you treated time as if it were cheap when it was the most priceless gift you were ever given. Never lose the dream, even when the night is long, because every vision worth living for will be tested in the darkness, in the silence, in the seasons where nothing makes sense and everything feels like it is falling apart. There will be nights when hope seems like a faint whisper, when your faith feels like a flickering candle struggling against the wind, when the weight of waiting presses so heavy that you begin to wonder if the dawn will ever come. In those moments, it is easy to believe the lies of defeat, easy to settle for less, easy to abandon what once set your soul on fire. But those who reach greatness are the ones who hold on when everything around them says, let go. The night is not a sign that your dream is dead. The night is a test to see if you can trust what you cannot yet see, to see if you can walk when the path is hidden, to see if you can believe when the evidence has vanished. Dreams are not destroyed in the daylight of opportunity. They are lost in the midnight of discouragement, in the hours when the world is asleep and your heart is wrestling with doubt. In the moments when you have nothing left but the memory of why you started, the secret to success that nobody tells you is that it does not happen by chance. It does not happen by luck. It does not happen in comfort or in ease. It is born in faith, forged in struggle, and carried forward by relentless action. It begins in the mind long before it shows up in the world, and it demands that you hold on to principles when popularity tempts you, that you choose discipline over desire, that you rise after failure, and that you keep walking when the road feels endless. It calls you to speak your dream when your voice trembles, to keep serving even when no one notices, to endure the storms that strengthen you, to protect the time that shapes you, and to hold fast to the vision even when the night is long and the light seems far away. Success is not a destination. It is a journey that tests your courage, measures your character, and proves your purpose. And those who win are not the fastest, not the most celebrated at the start, but those who refuse to quit, those who dare to believe when the world doubts, and those who live not just for themselves, but for something greater than their own name.